The Golden State Warriors are currently sub 500, sitting around the bottom of the Western Conference. The Houston Rockets have a better record than them currently. The team that made it to the second round and was 2 games shy of the Western Conference Finals is doing worse than the one that had the second worst record in the league. This rocky start mirrors their pace from the previous season. Around this time last year, they had an even record of 10 wins and 10 losses, so they're familiar with these circumstances. Although this year, the road has been bumpier. We have to acknowledge that Draymond Green's absence from the team for 5 games affected their record. They played 4 of their 5 games without Draymond at home and finished that stretch with an abysmal 2-3 record, coming victorious against the Rockets and the bottom-feeding Spurs. These are the Golden State Warriors we're talking about. There is a well-based argument to be made that they've possessed the greatest home court advantage from the We Believe days. To lose at home is so uncharacteristic of them, especially when you consider they used their home games last year to prevent a complete implosion. In the 2022-23 season, they held a top 3 home record and a bottom 4 away record. That is no exaggeration. The Warriors spent one half of their entire season as a championship contender and the other half as a lottery team. Last year for them on all levels was a numerical anomaly. To grasp how ridiculous their home and away sides were, they had an away record of 11 wins and 30 losses. But if they'd won a grand total of 6 extra away games, they'd be a 50-win team. Madness. Pure madness. But was the madness incomprehensible? They had their troubles. But what is incomprehensible is coming back the next year and having a worse record at home than away. They're negative in wins at home this season, and against every fabric of logic, they're playing better on the road. The Titan Atlas was condemned by Zeus to carry the weight of the skies for all eternity. Atlas was chastised for his devotion and loyalty. Stephen Curry is being punished for choosing the Warriors over a better opportunity. Golden State have done absolutely nothing to alleviate the pressure off their legendary point guard's back. Night in, night out, they rely on this 35-year-old father of 2 who can barely suit up for half the season to win games. His second option this season is Klay Thompson, who's averaging numbers which are a far cry from his peak. Now, I still believe in Klay Thompson. Call it foolish optimism, but I'm not giving up on him just yet. But there is a sizable group of anti-Klay individuals, a group I will not associate with, but it's hard to refute them with the current state of play. This group of individuals believe that the 4-time NBA champ, as he will unwaveringly remind us, Klay Thompson, is washed. Whether this merciless label is accurate or not, the truth of the matter is Steph Curry does not have the help he needs. The Golden State Warriors do not have the personnel to win a championship. This has been the case since their run in 2022. The moment they fell off their chariot, they've yet to remount. What certainly didn't help their matter was Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in the face. He punched that man off the team, and what did the Warriors acquire after parting with their 20-year-old dynamic scorer? Chris Paul, another old man. I mean, admittedly, Jordan Poole's been playing like buns in Washington, and I'm certain the Wizards want a refund, but CP3 hasn't exactly been a stellar acquisition. In his 18 games as a Warrior, he's averaged a towering 8 points on 40% shooting. Now, he's still Chris Paul, so he's gonna create opportunities at an elite level, and he's been excellent in regards to ball security this season. Stats-wise, he's averaging 1 turnover a game, which is the fewest turnovers in his career. But comparing his stats from last season to now, a gut-wrenching reality is unavoidable. And I call this reality gut-wrenching because of the esteem I hold for Chris Paul. CP3 is genuinely one of the most underrated players of all time. A player who mastered the point guard position while standing barely 6 feet tall. One of the most purely skilled basketball players the game has ever seen. A player whose legacy I will voice from the mountaintops. As a Chris Paul fan, even I can't deny it. He's washed. Now, he's not a scrub, but he's not worth the price of admission. Man, none of these quote-unquote stars on his team are worth the price of admission besides Wardell. Clay is making $40 million a year and he'll be out there throwing up prayers on a nightly basis. We know the aforementioned Chris Paul and his production, and below him on the payroll is Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, the second most important piece in the Warriors finals run, the guy that came second to Steph for finals MVP considerations, the man who baptized Luka and strapped up Jason Tatum in the same playoff run. How could that be? As a Warrior, he'd break out in 2022, being selected to participate in the All-Star game as a starter. He'd face injury and personal struggles the following season, playing less than half of the games he did in 2022, but his stats remained damn near identical, and his defensive presence in those games took no noticeable decline. But this season paints a different portrait. So far, his play has not met the standard we've come to expect from him, failing to even maintain his numbers from the previous years. He's dipped in all aspects of his game. His points per game is down to 12. The Wigs that locked down Jason Tatum has not been present in any of the Warriors games this season, with unremarkable performances on that end. His field goal percentage is down. He's shooting 50% from the charity stripe. His three-pointer, something he magically reformed after coming to the Bay, has fallen off a cliff. This guy has been a 39 to 40% shooter the last 2 years and is in the mid-20s currently. All around, a terrible slump, and his non-fulfillment, coupled with the team's worsening record, builds frustration within the organization. Coming out of the woodworks now are reports that the team have concerns about Wiggins' fitness. Andrew Wiggins has become an annoyance for the organization because his conditioning is not up to par. But not everything is black and white. Let's not make haste to label Wiggs with harsh accusations. He's missed a good chunk of last season due to an undisclosed familial issue that speculatively had to do with his father's health, which is a heavy burden to bear, and it certainly justifies his declined play. We must acknowledge Andrew Wiggins the human being before we can cast judgment on Andrew Wiggins the basketball player. A clouded mind would seem to be the most sensible reason to explain why he's played so poorly. Wiggs balled out in a Warriors uniform because of his ability to explode. Remember, this guy was a generational athlete as a prospect, and when he bought into the Warriors system, he was on the court outputting pure grit and tenacity, something he was criticized for not showing up to that point. Wiggs can definitely alter this season into something positive. If he can tame his personal issues, the Warriors will tremendously benefit from an Andrew Wiggins on full throttle. When he's playing at his best, no Warrior besides Steph has the impact he does. Not even Draymond Green. Draymond's been the usual this season. His assists have dipped somewhat, but it's still the beginning of the season. Plus, he's on the floor with another playmaker now in Chris Paul, so they'll need time to adjust. His play when the ball is inbounds isn't the issue. It's his theatrics on dead balls that are infuriating Warriors fans. Like, yo, you're 33, bro. At some point, you have to control your fire because it's a hindrance to the team. And it's been that way for a while. You can get your point across to Rudy Gobert, who was simply defending his teammate without assaulting him. There's no justification for putting a man in a sleeper hold like your Dolph Ziggler. His track record doesn't help his case either. Green can make all the excuses he wants on his podcast, but there's no reason for a veteran of his caliber to behave in such a manner. You'd expect these kinds of antics from a young guy who's still a hothead, not a grown man who's been in the league since 2013. The Warriors' young core lacks guidance. Now, is Draymond Green the reason why the Warriors' young guys suck? No, it's their own damn faults. Jonathan Kuminga was the 7th overall pick, and he's putting up 11 a night while shooting 29 from 3? Moses Moody, the 14th overall pick, can't get 10 points a night? This isn't a Warriors team stacked with established talents who are ready to go that you gotta play behind. This is not the old strength in numbers Warriors team who had Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Harrison Barnes, Bogut, Lee, Spades, etc. With the nucleus slowing down, the lineup is ripe for adjustment. It is catered for these two to seize the opportunity, and both have failed to do so as of now. I think hopes for Kuminga were especially high, as most suspected him to step into the role Wiggins had occupied and become the lead wing. But Kuminga's talents are still raw and unrefined. He shows flashes of what he could be, especially in preseason, but opportunities are fleeting, and you have to capture your moments when you get them. Stephen Curry, Dario Saric, and Kevon Looney are the only net positives. Saric has been a bright spot for the team, a sleeper pickup. Loon is the blue-collar workhorse he's always been, and Steph, he's transcendent, as expected. It's redundant at this point to highlight his stats because every statistic from the simplest to the most advanced proves Stephen Curry is one of the most impactful basketball players ever. No one has the kind of gravity Curry does when he steps on the court. He could go an entire quarter not touching a rock and he'll still affect every offensive play. There's players who are conditions of winning by themselves, singular pieces that can transform any club into a contender. All Steph Curry needs is a decent number 2 and a solid supporting cast who can knock down open shots and play team defense. Especially this version of him. We are truly witnessing the most polished version of Chef Curry, but the chef can't craft if his line cooks aren't doing their jobs. Let's hope Curry's line cooks can turn things around, or else the restaurant is going to have some serious decisions to make in the future. That analogy might have been overboard. So, simply put, the Warriors need to get this shit together. Thanks for watching.